So I would like to call the Groton Board of Ed Committee of the Whole meeting to order. It is December 5th and it's 6:04. On the school calendar or the calendar. Let's try clock. And our first agenda item is the review of the November 21st meeting minutes, and I would accept a motion for acceptance. I have Andrea. I have a second. Second. I have Liz for a second. Is there any discussion on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of the approval of the November 21st meeting minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? That motion has carried. We are now on agenda number 3, which is the discussion with the field committee. And I was rude enough to put a top rock in my mouth. And folks, I don't have the talent to be able to talk with a cough drop in my mouth.
Should we maybe go around the room and just introduce?
If you let me,
Okay.
if you give me a chance.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm going to start with Dean and let's just introduce ourselves.
Dean Antibas.
Ted Keller, principal at Fitch High School. Rich Costa, coach and teacher at Fitch High School and a member of the committee.
Frank Narosky, chairman of the Athletic Fields Task Force.
Sam Kilpatrick, facilities director for the district.
This border. Board.
William Morgan. board member.
He's just as talented as me with talking with a mouthful. My name is Kim Shepherdson Watson and I'm the chair.
I'm Andrea Ackman. I'm astounded that I didn't recognize you. We gotta talk kids.
Phil Piazza, assistant superintendent.
And Susan Austin, superintendent.
Yeah. Mark Romano, we know you.
Yeah.
And happy to know you. Matthew.
Board member.
Matthew is behind that thing.
Hold on, Matt.
And if I click,
Connected.
I can hear you.
I know,
But we can't see you. There you are.
okay,
Good evening, everyone.
thank you. And Beverly,
Thank you all for coming.
thank you, Beverly. All right, so let me just put us all in the same field. Ha, ha, ha.
Okay, that was bad.
So a couple months ago, we were kind of just talking about the facilities we had put as part of our budget in our CIP was to have a review and recommendations from an architect to take a look at the concession stand and to take a look at our field house. And we do know that some of this stuff was kind of wrapped into the field, the athletic field committee. And we were talking about well, do they know the status of what that is? And what does that mean? And we sort of as a board figured, why not just have a conversation about what is your plans? I think that there is some nervousness on the board in terms of, not on the field committee, of just about how do we get to the improvements around the field, both the football field, the concession stand, the field house, and I believe that the bleachers are a little scary. And I know that you guys know that. And I think for me, if I can just speak for me for just a second, is that first of all, how can we partner with the field committee? Because you guys can't do it all by yourself. And this is a long process. And there's probably lots of things that need to be done. But where's the Fitch stuff in your recommendations? Because I think that we're gonna need to do some planning around that. I don't know what that means when I say those words, but I think Mark, when I talk to you, am I changing the storyline at all?
No, you're right on with it.
Okay, thank you. So that's why we wanted you guys to come in, not because we wanted to, like, what are you guys doing? But more, how can we partner? I think that the board is very clear that we don't work in silos, that we really want to be a collaborative, part of the team. So with that, that's where we are. And now they look at each other.
I want to know who's going to be. Frank is the chairman, so.
I am.
I'll let him start and.
I can start.
And Mark will fill in.
Where do we stand today? Let's start from, we started in March of 2020, right before we got together. We've been here before with the Board of Ed, presented. Our task was to let the town council know and understand what field shortages we had within the town. That includes the high school, everything within the town of Groton. So we got together through a year of talking to the baseball coaches, the lacrosse teams, the soccer organizations, little league, softball, football. We talked to everybody and came up with all these great metrics and how short we are and everything that we need. It took us a bit to get there. We got there, we presented that information to the Board of Ed. We've been to the RTM, obviously to the town council first, and presented what we had. We kind of got stagnated with, at some point when the whole, help me a little bit, the Mystic Oral School issue, right?
Mhm.
So town council kind of backed down. We want to wait until everything goes through. Though it wasn't connected, it was still connected because our major goal within our group was to take the high school, three-part series, if you could remember back when, which if you don't, it's okay. There's the high school portion of it, there's the Sutton Park portion of it, and there's the Clodchester portion of it. So in our mind, those are the three biggest areas that we could work with. And one of the things that we learned through Coach Costa and Mark Romano, sorry, I still call him Coach, I apologize. And I know it when my children went there because they were in the same boat, is trying to keep these student athletes on campus as much as we can. Because part of the problem is the next player on whatever team we have, I think in our presentation here today, we pulled out some slides. There's like 13 teams that leave the campus of the high school to go practice or to go play games. JV teams and baseball teams, a number of them. So it's trying to keep them on campus so that when they have practice at 3 o'clock but they need extra help and they can't get to the practice field or go to the extra help, they have to do one thing or the other, right? There's no transportation provided past maybe the first bus. After that, you're done. So what do you do as the 13-year-old or the 15-year-old kid? You got to make this decision, right? And we hope they always make the right one. But if they know that they can go to that extra help and then run down the hill and go to practice, you know, they're going to be late. Coach won't mind if you're late because you had an issue with that, with something academic. So by using those three things, we were trying to, and we wanted to put them together as an entity. Not I think we've all learned through the years that the high school, that the projects, we'll call them, tend to be, you know, decreased in value as the year goes on, right? Yes, we have an idea, we're gonna take $200,000, we're gonna do this for a field, but then a bridge breaks or something, and we need that money somewhere else, and it kind of gets pushed down. And the fact that as we went through the whole with Chad Frost and company,
I'm not sure what happened. I'll go next door and see if I can find them.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Good evening, Rita. Good evening, Beverly.
Good evening, Matthew. How are you doing?
I'm doing. I'm not
Well,
twisting in the breeze yet.
all right, good. And how's your lovely wife?
My lovely wife is busy at the community meals tonight.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Tonight's Monday night.
That's right. And I spent about 4 hours with JP over in Mystic, so that was good.
Uh-huh. Oh, good. Good. I'm about to travel to Mississippi again because my father's in the hospital.
I'm sorry you're gonna feel it. Sorry he's
Yeah.
not doing well.
But
Where
Beverly,
down, where in
how old is
Mississippi
he
are you
now?
going?
He's 102, Rita.
Oh, my God. That's because he was
Yeah.
the same age as my mom. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
That's
Yeah.
amazing, though.
yeah. He just turned 102 the beginning of November.
Wow.
Mm.
Rachel, we're waiting for a technical glitch to be resolved so we can join the group. Just bear with us.
Who's Rachel?
Okay, thank you.
Rachel
Rachel.
Franco.
Oh,
Rachel
hey,
Franco.
Rachel.
Hey.
I heard on BBC that Miss Franco planted some bulbs this weekend.
You heard that where?
Oh, BBC had a special on Rachel Franco. planting bulbs.
I can't hear very well. Is it me?
I have them backing out and then they're going to try and re-enter the meeting from next door.
Thanks, Mark.
And here they are. Let's see. We can see you.
All right. Never mind.
So, we had to leave the meeting, because, we became not online. I'm not quite sure the word is. So
Disconnected.
we are disconnected. So we are back, but, we have not had any further conversation, about our topic. And once again, to our guests, I apologize for, this technology and my inability to use it.
So, so we were, like I said, we got caught up in the oral school stuff, then we got caught up in Clyde Chester stuff. What has happened recently is about 6 weeks ago, there was the topic of discussion was the Clyde Chester and what they want to do. They've come through all of their citizens meetings and sessions we had open discussions, we had what do we call that?
A visioning
Visioning meeting, right,
meeting
we
that
put
for the
stickers and
Gloucester
they came up with,
property.
and the Parks and Rec department came up with all the list of all the things that the folks wanted and prioritized them based on all the feedback. And they actually, at the last meeting that we went to about 6 weeks ago, the town gave the okay for Chad Frost and company to do a kind of a rendition of what they feel, with taking all that input, what they feel Clyde should be looking like, with the types of things that the community has put out there. So right now we're just waiting. We're in limbo while they're doing that part of the study. So our idea in the beginning was to take all 3 of those locations, Sutton Park, Clyde and the high school, and make it one big happy package, put a bow on it and figure out, tell everybody this is what we want. And here you go, have a nice day. But as you know, it's a lot bigger than that, right? So that's where we are today. And I know that when we were with you guys I think I saw the meeting that you guys had discussed it, and Mark and Rich have talked about it in our meetings about the things that you guys have been doing, or they've been doing, and all of you at the high school. And I think we're to the point where we need to, like you, we want to try to keep the can going down the road and keep going forward.
Because my sense is, and I don't mean to, I can't change it to gallery and I'm not gonna touch the computer because last time I had us leave the meeting. Is that this is a large, even if you just took one of those three things and look, rightfully so, because there's a lot of needs out there. So it's not, I feel like you guys were like digging way underneath the dirt to find these things. I get it. So these are, I would assume you feel like they would have to go to a referendum to get any one of these passed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
The committee wants to present this as a whole package.
right.
That's why Claude Chester kind of held us up. And I think we're moving to that point to get it approved, well, to bring it to the town council to get it approved. And they are now discussing on how to pay for these things. But this is kind of in order, this thing here, the high school has always been the first priority. Everybody recognizes that the needs of the high school are there. They need to be addressed. And so even if the project was to be chunked out, and again, this is the decision of the town council on how they're going to, if they're going to bond it or whatever, that the first place where the needs would need to be met would be at the high school. They would rather it be done, all three at the same time, but, we're talking about a pretty large expenditure of taxpayers' money. So that's coming, that's going to the town council and finding out how they're going to approach this. There's a lot of support on the town council for what we presented. We presented to, early in the session, we had representatives from the state. So we had Senator Summers and Representative Connolly, and at the time Dela Cruz, but Andre, who's going to be the other representative, is well informed about this whole situation. So they lended support and basically they said that once we had a plan, once the town moved forward with the plan, then they would work with the town to try to get some state funding for what we came up with. So
Would it be useful for us to see, if Sam, do you have any information about the study that was done on the field house?
Yes. But it's not complete, but there were
two different versions.
Mark would have the version, but and the pricing probably, so two different versions, either knocking down the field house and building new, which I think, Rich, you were in on that meeting too, right?
yes, I was.
So I think that was the preferred option,
Absolutely.
was to do that.
Yeah.
Which would include male and female locker space.
Yeah.
Changing rooms, meeting rooms, etc. And I believe it would also include the concession stand within that new building
Yep,
too.
concession stands, and then not only restroom facilities for the teams and locker room facilities, but also for the public. That was in the plan where there was one building and not the renovation of the two buildings.
And the bleachers are a big concern.
Right, and so if number one on that whole thing, the pitch thing is, and this is what the committee and Mark and people at the high school to simply renovate that stadium, the track with a synthetic turf field that would be available to all the teams. Right now, it's a football field and it's narrow so that other sports can't really, the soccer team and the lacrosse teams and the field hockey teams cannot adequately play on that field. It was designed for football and it can't be expanded because the track obviously is around it and the bleachers are right there also. So that whole area would have to be renovated so that the field was made wider. The track would then be designed a little bit differently around it, and then the bleachers would be pushed out. And then as you see all the other amenities that would be needed the restrooms, the locker rooms, the scoreboard, parking, the field event areas for the track, storage and ADA compliance to all those things. And then there was also a need we found for multi-use. This was done, this is our presentation to the town council in 2020. So this was done before the middle school field was completed. So there's a need for 2 additional multi-use fields. A softball field on campus, a varsity sized softball field. The softball field that's there that was built as part of the middle school project is a smaller field. It's not really a varsity size field. It was built for the middle school, and it'd be adequate for a JV team, but not for varsity.
I'll go back and check again.
Thanks, Mark.
This could be a movie plot. Room 11 disappears.
Sorry, guys, this has never happened.
It's all good.
Time to get to the town hall annex. I've heard they fixed up the place.
Can I just mention something? I don't know. I don't have a raise my hand button.
So,
I don't know if you can see me either.
so Rachel, we can see you, but I would have to have someone from the board recognize you for their turn. So to ask.
I'll
people-
recognize Rachel, Kim.
Beverly, thank you so much. Rachel, go ahead.
The reason, I'm also speaking because I'm on the Athletic Fields Task Force as well. So
Oh, I am so sorry. Rachel, I apologize. I did not know that. So
No, that's
Beverly, you
okay.
have your turn back.
it's okay. I just wanted to also add in that money was given to Parks and Rec for the Athletic Fields Task Force to do, after they figure out some locations, I guess, to bring in architects and planners and designers and to figure out where all these fields should go and how it, and so there is money set aside for that whole, the planning of all this as well. So I just wanted to throw that out there because like it's been mentioned, we're trying to get it at the high school, Gloucester, Sutton Park area, but there's ways to figure out where can it fit and how can it fit and things of that. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I didn't hear it mentioned.
Yeah, Parks and Recs have been holding off on spend. They have money in a CIP, as Rachel said. They were holding off to see where the Gloucester property, the visioning of the citizens. So they haven't allocated that money yet, but there is money for planning to see.
We had 2
Where the-
CIPs for planning. One was for the culinary arts and one was for the fields at the field house. And because they weren't moving at all in the CIP, we determined that we were going to go on and do it ourselves. The board determined to do it themselves. So we've got the planning completed just for those buildings. And then for our culinary art at Fitch.
So what would happen if the plans don't intercede together properly then?
Well, I think that's why we're here, Rachel, is to kind of find out what to do. And obviously, we're not going to come up with the answer tonight, but at least the field committee would know that we are supporting their efforts and knowing that their priority is the Fitch. And that I think that the Board of Ed can then realize that the field committee is also supporting the area around Fitch as its priority. I'm going to recognize William.
So what's the ideal scenario of how quickly this could be done? So I mean, looking at your 2020 presentation, it looks like,
So, I mean, if you go to the very last page,
Next steps.
I think, maybe it's not there. Yeah, this was our original
yeah,
timeline when we presented this on 2020. So, you know, this would need to be updated. Like I said, we were put on hold because of the first, as Frank said, the Mr. Carl School project, and then later the Claude Chester project. So this got put on hold for the committee. So we would have to come up with a new timeline. Once the Parks and Rec department decides to go ahead with the planning, and then we could.
so
But
that
bullet-
timeline for that is
Forever.
for the, yeah, so that's, what I mean,
So,
imagine we had to do this with our Havoc or with any other things we were doing at the school.
right. So, I mean, I think
Never gonna-
right, no, I hear you. I think that that's why the board really wanted to have this conversation is that, we have I mean, well, calm down. Susan was correct when she said that we had two studies, one for the culinary and one for field house, just to see what needed to be happen. But we also have a CIP of the crowning of the football field. And
Year after year.
so we're asking the town to support the field, not even to keep it status quo. I mean, and so to William's point, how much longer can Fitch be kicking down the road with the concession stand, the field house and the football field before we are at critical mass? Because I'm almost afraid that we're at critical mass now.
That's those double dots at the bottom of the page. If
Yeah.
you do nothing for
Yeah,
the existing field to be usable, there's a
right.
problem.
So,
It could be unsafe.
Oh, yeah.
so Rachel, I have a question for you as a person on the town council. At what point do you have to put on for a referendum, like for it to go into the November? Are you aware of the timeline?
I don't know the timeline. I do know that we won't have the ability to bond for probably a couple years. Because we're pretty maxed out with the bonding because of all the schools. And I know from when the actuary came to us, it looked like it was going to be a few years out before we could do bonding, because then we have to wait till some previous bonds are paid off.
Okay. So Rachel, if I could read between the lines, is that if we were to do anything around the fields, it would have to be something different than bonding. Is that correct?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it might take a couple of years to have room to bond, is what I'm trying to say. So let's
Okay.
just say we could probably bond in 2024. We could, everything could get ready and prepare for bonding. We could probably even try and go to referendum in 23, but we wouldn't be able to bond, let's just say till 24. I don't know the exact year, but I knew back when I first investigated this, it looked like we were pretty close to our debt threshold. Because there's a formula of what we can and, can put in for debt. That's part of our budget.
Okay.
And so it looked like it was going to be like 24, maybe 25 before we could bond for a large project of, so we might, It might be 23, so, or 24, so. But the referendum has to be pulled together and the process has to be started. And I'm not exactly sure how long that takes to be able to go to referendum for a piece like that.
I think Parks and Rec is ready, and I believe, and I wish Mark was here, Mark Barry, to move ahead with using the CIP money that they have to begin an architectural study for this plan. I believe that was their intention. But again, I can't speak for Mark, but from everything we've gotten from him when we've had meetings, I think that was our impression. Am I right, Frank?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So they want to move ahead with that, which would be the first step in getting then together a referendum, which would then lead to bonding. And then also looking for state money.
I don't know, I'm sorry to jump in, but I think the money, it's a substantial amount of money for all this. It's $200,000, if I was correct in my memory.
Yep.
For the planning of this. But the problem being is like, is Quad Chester going to be used as soccer fields or rectangle fields? Or is that something we're going to put up at the high school? So that's why we're waiting on Claude Chester, because if you're going to put rectangle fields up at the high school, it's a whole other component of what needs to be designed up there.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm going to recognize Dean.
The alternative to bonding, of course, is just paying for something run out of your operating budget this year, but that means that everybody in town this year pays for it instead of spreading it over 20 years. You catch more of the community who actually enjoys that. It's the same thing with paving projects or anything else. You can always pay for it this year if you want to stop people. My original question before this one came up was this. I can recall, and I don't know whether this was tied to the Noang school field or it just came up. I remember people talking some years ago about the paucity of fields in their part of town. They were talking at the time about the northwestern corner of town. Just an interesting corner because it's got the Navy base, et cetera. But it got me to thinking, that's a good question. If I had kids, how far do my kids have to go to bounce a ball or kick a ball someplace? And do you run into the problem when you put together here's what Groton's going to do with fields, including school fields, with people saying, oh, so now you want me to vote in a referendum to approve the expenditure of this money for fields, but my corner of town isn't getting anything out of this. That's great for people who live over there. So I don't know whether you gentlemen have encountered anything like that. And I wouldn't want a school project to be, if there is an albatross, maybe that's an exaggeration, something hanging around the neck of the more comprehensive plan. I wouldn't want the school project to ride along with that.
Well, we did encounter that, and this is why, one of the reasons why it was deemed that where the other improvements would go would be to Sutton Park, which is right in the center of town, and then at Claude Chester, instead of moving out to, say, a cop property or somewhere in another part of town. The feeling was of the committee that if we centralized it where there are already facilities, that we would be in the center of town, and it would be accessible to all just like we put the middle school in that part of town, to be accessible to everybody in town. At least it has to go somewhere. So obviously, some of the people are closer, but that's kind of equidistant to all sections of town.
And I think that part of what we'll do with the Parks and Rec Department also had we did the 10-year Parks and Rec master plan. So a completely different group of people came in to kind of observe everything for a week. And I was actually part of a focus group. They were half a dozen focus groups.
Yep.
And that was one of the concerns from people on that focus group was, geez, the northwest corner, or actually even out this area, there wasn't a lot to go play basketball. There wasn't things like that. And they were taking all that into consideration when they provide their results, I think in January, on what they found from their expertise and what they're doing as well. But we've talked about all the properties all over town. Like at the time, Pleasant Valley, like I said, I run by Pleasant Valley twice a week. And at the time it was, I think we were it was up for sale, I forget what happened, but I was like, you could put stuff there, I mean, it's usable. I know we want to use it for business, we want to use it for other things as well, but it, again, it's off. It's not. It's in an area of town where there's not a lot of other things. We were trying to consolidate it as a whole, but depending on what we have with Colchester, which is only the linchpin in the fact that there was a lot of people who had a lot of great ideas for things that they wanted, a pool. So do you want to take 2/3 of Colchester and put a pool there? I mean, not my recommendation, but I'm not saying we don't need a pool. But, you know, that type of thing, a pool, okay, we want the pool, we think it's a great thing, but we'll put it another place, whatever that may be.
So I think that this is what the board is struggling with,
Right.
and
Agreed.
board members, if you feel like I'm misspeaking for us, is that we have these high school items that are top of your list. I think we agree with you. My concern is that it's getting stuck in this decision around Colchester, and we have property that's deteriorating. And not that I'm like trying to be like a scare person, but we're also at risk of getting someone really hurt and we're not paying attention. And not that you're not paying attention to it, because I'm not here to point fingers. That's not my point. My point is I think that what the board is struggling with is what needs to be done is much bigger than any CIP project. And the school field stuff is caught in your field study. And so what happens with the Fitch project? Because it's not like we can start just doing CIP projects, because we are. I mean, we've paid for one and we're asking for the crowning of the field. I think that's what our urgency is that, you know, we go and we have our flagship school and we have these field house and concession stands. And I know you guys know what that looks like. And I know you're trying to hold both. You're trying to hold the needs of the town. I get it. You're trying to hold the needs of the town and answer to the mission that the town council has given to you, but really concerned about what this means for Fitch. Rachel, I see that your hand is up.
Thank you. So what it means for Fitch to me, from what I remember, we did vote and gave you the money to crown the field last year. And I had an issue with it because there was this task force that what if we went and we spent all this money to crown the field, though it did pass, and then we come and scrape the whole thing and do a whole new field in a couple of years because we go to referendum. So here's the balancing act. Do we go to referendum and we ask for a lot of money and say, here, we could pay for this over 30 years, but we can do all these great things for our community? Or do we CIP it for 30 years and it might take 30 years or 25 years for somebody to get, you know, a softball field somewhere or a baseball field somewhere? I mean, that's the problem, because it has been suggested that maybe we do CIPs. And that's how I think it has been done in the past. And it really hasn't gotten the town anywhere as a whole. And from what I've understood, some of the people that were on the town council who did Quanah Plain said it was the best thing they've ever done. It was their proudest, and the thing they took the pride in the achievement that they've done. So also having Colchester, Sutton Park, and up at Fitch, it's also going to make it so that the kids may not have to get bused anywhere, that they can actually go to these places and they can maybe have access down a path that we can go down to Sutton Park. So there's busing as well that's included here. And if we chose to do something else at Colchester, the school, Kent Frost has done renderings for us about the school, so we could visually see some potentials there. And he's found places to put soccer fields up there. And I don't know if it's okay to put them there, but I mean, he's done these renderings on how things could fit there, not knowing exactly what's under the ground for sure. But I mean, he's done all that research and data, but he's come up with some really good renderings to show how things could go at the high school. So I understand completely, what do we do with deteriorating buildings? And I mean, versus do we referendum and try and get this all up, you know, and get a lot of funding and try and do everything all at once. So it's a hard thing to decide right now, but I don't think historically doing CIPs is the way to go. historically, it hasn't really worked. That's the way I'm looking at it.
So Rachel, guess who was offline the whole time you were talking?
Were you really?
Hi, my name is Kim. And I'm sitting here with some really incredible people and we have been offline. And so how frustrating, and we don't understand. But I think what I heard you say is that there has been some rendering of some really good plans about how to do it. And also the Fitch project is not something that we can do CIPs for.
Because you would have to choose whether to do them over 30 years, basically, or you could do referendum and have them all done at once. And like I was saying, I was not in favor of recrowning the football field because my thoughts are in 2 years, if we go to referendum and we put a synthetic field out there, it was just sort of like money we spend for 2 years. You know, we could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for just 2 years worth of recrowning. You know what I mean? It's like, what do you do? And I historically haven't seen, because that's what they've tried to do in the past, is let's do it over CIPs. And historically, it really hasn't worked. We haven't gotten anywhere.
We certainly agree with you on that.
And then
Answer. Rachel, can I ask you a question? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I just have a question for you. So the money that the committee has right now, it's for the Parks and Recs, for Mark and them to go get, we have some ideas on what we wanted to do. Do we have to, I just don't know the behind how it works. Do we have to go back to you and say, okay, we want to go start doing our thing on those other 2 sites? So I'm thinking, why can't we go do the other 2 sites?
Which site?
And at the same time, they're working on the Cloudchester, and then at least and they almost need to be melded together if we're going to continue as one.
Which are the other 2 sites? You mean Fitch and Sutton Park?
Right.
And yeah, I don't think there would be a problem in the rear of Fitch, but I think the front part where he was talking about the soccer field, that goes into play with Cloudchester.
The front.
So she means the area by the front entrance.
Yeah, I think it was near
On
the,
south side of the front entrance.
it was near the sign out there to the right-hand side, right? To the right-hand side of the driveway.
Down in that big gully,
Yeah.
he was, that's where he had laid out soccer fields. I
Yeah.
don't even know if anything's going there, but that he laid out soccer fields in there, so.
He tried, I don't think it worked real well. Yeah. Yeah, he
I
did at
I
one
just
point.
don't know what kind of land it is down there. I don't know if it's
think that
protected. I don't know any of that, so.
But the point is, Parks and Rec can go spend that money now if they feel like, I don't know, I feel like if we did it in parallel, we've got to be saving time, right? If we have the money to do
Yeah,
it.
if they started at Sutton Park in the rear of Fitch, I think they could start it. I don't see why they couldn't start the rear of Fitch and down at Sutton Park.
Well, we did the field house part, so we've got an idea of that. And like you say, if it's early on, you can see how those 2 would then sit side by side or wherever they needed to sit.
Right, because I think they were talking about adding on to the tennis courts as well. And
2 extra courts.
because there's not enough tennis courts, putting a softball field back there, updating, I think even the baseball field. And then there was also this multi-use down at the football. And so.
I'm going to recognize Rita.
Thank you. Rita Volkman, I'm online. My feeling is that we need to separate out the bleachers at the high school. We could rebuild them, set them back from where they are now so that if anything is done to the field for track and football and soccer, that it wouldn't interfere, but those are a safety hazard. And I think we should redo them as soon as possible and not wait for bonding and a referendum and delay it any longer, but knock them down like they did at Ledyard and rebuild. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Liz.
I know that the Fitch property has got different things that they want to develop. But is there a way that we can break off like just the football field and the bleachers and the field house and the concession stands? What if we piecemealed it? Is that Or would that not work? And we could do it. I mean, how much of this would be part of our budget, our operating budget? That field's the same field I marched on in 1975, I mean, come on. And those bleachers haven't changed. I think my Uncle Tony was there when that was happening, and that was a long time ago. So, the point is that my concern, as well as I know the whole board's concern is one is safety. Not only for our students, but for people who are coming to visit. I mean, I was at the band competition. It's scary going up those stairs, those things. So, but how much of this can we take on? Or do we have to, can we split it between the town and our budget? I mean, is it even a possibility? And I don't know if that's even in the realms of thought, but we've got to start to move on this.
I think, and I know that that's where you guys are coming from, Liz. I appreciate you saying that. I'm wondering if actually we don't have the right people like in the conversation yet, in terms of like what are our next steps? We're part of a 3-step referendum, but what does that mean, and how do we, and because it's going to take a while. I think Rachel, you spoke to that. It's going to take a while to get a referendum through and developed, and a plan of attack, so that we can get people to understand the value of it and be willing to do it. So I
think that the Board of Ed could communicate with the Parks and Rec Department and just say what you just said, and try to get the Parks and Rec Department to move, because they do have the money to do a study, and to do the study at the high school, to do the study at Sutton Park, and to do a study at Claude Chester with fields and without. I mean, and that would allow some movement forward. And then once you have a comprehensive idea of what you can do, then it can go to how is this going to get done and paid for. But they have funding to do that right now.
thank you, Matthew.
Thank you. I guess I want to associate myself with what Rita said and add one more dimension. Unfortunately, I don't have a solution, but I think that the idea of risk mitigation and risk management is kind of the elephant in the room for many of us. And I hope that the various parties can work together to accelerate this as a manner of mitigating and managing the risks that are involved at present. Thank you.
So what's our next step? Contact the Parks and Rec? Is that what you recommend?
That's what I think would,
Okay.
would be
And-
a step.
And then see what happens as a result of that.
You have to speak with.
So
I
would that
believe
be
so.
You or you and Susan?
I mean, I think it comes from the board, and I'd be more than happy to kind of throw an email together to say that we have met with the field committee, and we along with the field committee are wondering if we can move towards having the study of is it the rear of Fitch and Sutton Park area? Is that the
Right.
so that we can have the information so that when we move forward. Plus, also, I would like to understand about where are we in the process of asking the town council to at least begin to start the process of remediation of what is the word when we vote on something?
Referendum?
Referendum. Wow, not a good sign.
You haven't had enough coffee.
Also to find out who starts that process. And when does that go? Because I think that's also part of that, because then I think that once again, I think that the board is saying we're really concerned about, and Matthew, I think you said the right words, risk remediation and risk mitigation, is that we've got some pretty scary areas.
We do.
We do. And.
And there's also the equity issue too, the equity with
Huge.
the gender equity issue that is apparent every day.
Rita?
That's exactly what I was going to bring up, the gender equity. And also, it is not handicap accessible. My dad was in a wheelchair, and to get down to that field to watch a graduation or to watch any type of sports is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think the town, we need to do something ASAP and not wait for all these studies and just get something done with those bleachers and the bathrooms and the field house. Thanks.
Thank you. So I understand my marching orders. I will throw together an email, guys, and you guys can look at it for approval, but to send it off. I will make sure that you guys are CC'd. The field committee can, at least I'll CC you and you can throw that to the rest of the thing. That would be great.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, Andrea.
I'm not sure whether this is really the appropriate place or not, but this has been bothering me for a long time. And that is the idea of putting in artificial turf. And I know that the research is very damning in terms of artificial, but my real concern is not whether or not we do it, but what my concern is that something that has to do only with the schools is being decided by an outside entity. And that's, I don't know whether to say that here or whether to say it when we meet with the other people. But that's, I don't know if you've thought of that, but that's.
So it was brought up in the very beginning. We have not recommended to anyone what type of field. We have our own ideas. But as part of the project, when they put it into price it out, that was the idea also, right? We also want to do turf versus grass. You know, I'll tell you up front, if it was up to me, I'd turf the whole town, but that's just me. I mean, because it's usage. I'm concerned about usage. You have lights in the turf field, you can play from 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. at night. But that's not the answer necessarily. But we did talk about it, and what we're gonna ask for in our price out is the differences, right? So the town, the Parks and Rec department knows how much money it costs them to maintain the fields and things like that. And you get the cost of how much it takes to put if you just take let's take the big field at the high school, right? And you're gonna do that, what are those cost comparisons? And that's part of the whole thing, and then you can, I mean, I think eventually that's maybe a town council decision, money decision, but yeah, we have not said one way or the other. If you do turf fields, you need less fields. That's just a fact because you can use it more often. But there's obviously
injuries to kids.
Yes, there's both sides, right? We can, for every pro, there's a con, and it's a forever going argument, but yes, we have talked about it.
And I see that that's down the road, but that was a very good point. I see that that's a discussion down the road.
Regardless of the field, what it's made out of, this field still needs to be made wider.
Yes.
And that, you know, whether it's grass or turf, or that is really the crux of the problem as far as getting the other teams down there to be able to utilize that field.
Which also determines where you're gonna sit new bleachers. if you do
Right.
bleachers, Because you can't.
Right,
Field
because
is
you,
gonna expand.
Right, exactly.
My question is do we have the space? I mean, we do have the space, because it seems like we're right on the precipice there of going down the hill, you know, and it's like there's one hill coming down from the.
what you do
tennis
is
courts.
you basically, you shorten the straightaways of the track and widen the corners so that the oval is bigger that way.
Okay.
So that then you can fit a
All right,
field right in there, and those bleachers are not right up against the hill on either side. It's not a lot of room, but it's, you know, that those few feet make a big difference. So it's not a big, all you have to do is look over the hill at Fitch behind the field house, and you can see how Grasso has put their facility in that facility.
I just think that we're far enough away from
Yeah,
even thinking
sorry.
about that. So, so
It was in
I
my-
think that the purpose was exactly what we needed to have, which is what are the next steps that the board can do to support this. And so I will make sure that this gets out. I just wanted to say, Rachel, once again, I apologize for not recognizing you as part of the field committee. And so I apologize greatly for that, and I'm glad to see you and happy to see you. Thanks. And to the two of you, thank you so much for showing up and partnering with us about our concern. And it's good to know that you guys know that, or just as concerned, if not more, since you live it. So I appreciate that. And Mark, I hope you feel better, dude.
Thank you.
I am going to move us on to the next agenda item,
Thank you.
which is elementary, middle, and high school enrollment class sizes. Susan, would you like to orient the
I would
board?
be happy to.
Thank you.
So one of the things that we do first and foremost is we start designing a budget is we look at our enrollment and our class size, and we do the deep dive with that. You can see on the elementary enrollment, I know Seth Danner is here just to listen in, but I wanted you to look at what is the enrollment currently as of November 18th, 2022, and then all the way to the right of the chart is the official October 1 numbers. So we have each of the schools by alphabet, and then we have the grade levels and the total. And this should include really all of the students to date. So remember though, last year when I talked about enrollment throughout the year, because we are such a transient military and other district, that we had about 350 students who moved out and about 351 who moved back in. So it was like a net difference of 1 student. So we do have students coming and going all the time. So just keep that in mind as well. But one of the things that I noticed when I did my quick view, and I do it kind of on a weekly basis, is that the numbers are really within what the board recommends and within what the teacher contract says. So we tend to have more around the 20 number for our Ks and 1s, and then 22 for the next group, and then by 4th and 5th, it can range anywhere between typically 18 and 24. So, and in most of these situations, you'll see that Catherine Kolnowski and Northeast Academy have what we call 4-tier Ks and 1s, and then they move to 3 tiers. So we have to be really cautious that we don't overfill them as magnet schools, because what happened to us at Northeast Academy a few years back was that there was a 1st grade class that got overfilled, like in the area of 80. So we couldn't divide it by 3 the next year. So we had to carry that FTE down, which meant that we had to take out an FTE from kindergarten. So we had to really adjust ourselves with the 4-tier, 3-tier model so that the class size would keep to what the board has recommended. So we're just cautious about that. At Mystic River and Thames River, they can both be 4-tier schools, but we found when we really studied the enrollment, Mystic River, for instance, grades 3 and 4, we were able to have 2 less teachers because of the numbers. That looks like it's going to continue on the following year. And at Thames River, we have the 3 tiers at the 4th and 5th grade level. So 5th grade will move on to the middle school, and we probably will see, mostly 4 tiers for Thames. But I can answer any questions that you might have about elementary enrollment. We were really cautious about kindergarten. At one point, we thought we had about 400 kindergarten students. We do also have TK in there, so we have the additional transition K in that mix, which is really very good. And I think that we did have some parents that opted to keep their kids out an extra year. We have a lot of other younger students, so we might have seen some kids who decided to be either homeschooled or kept another year home when they're only 4.
Rita, I see that your hand is up.
Yes, Susan, I had a question about Thames River, the preschool number of 24. Are they split into half days, or are there 24 students in the preschool classes with 3 FTEs?
I would say that that is between the 3 preschool programs. I believe they all 3 are half days. We had one program that was more of a full day program, but I believe that those are all half day programs.
So that, how many then are really in a class? Are there 12?
12 in each, yep.
And then what about the pre-K?
Can I
Pre-K.
just, can I also tell you, Rita, that what we do is throughout the year, we take on the birth to 3 students. So we have to leave room for special education students who are coming in over the year. So those will really probably fill up to about 18 each.
Well, would you bring them all into Thames River? Because the other schools already have enough students. Like the Mystic River preschool has 19.8. I mean, I'm just not exactly sure of these numbers for the preschool.
So that would be 19.8 is cut in half.
Yep, so we should say that somehow because it doesn't,
Okay.
it's not on the chart.
It is trickier with preschool.
And what about preschool though? Pre-K rather is 21. They're all day, right? Pre-K.
No,
And then
they are half day programs,
a pre-K is a half day?
right?
So
And they
again,
also have room to fill up as well on each session.
well, 11 would be really a lot of room and 12, yeah, there'd be an
Yeah.
awful lot of room. And then there's only one transition K with 15. I thought we had 2 classes at one time. We only have one now?
No, I think we've talked about it, Rita, and there again, they've left room. There have been cases where we've had students who've been in kindergarten who are young and they aren't making progress in kindergarten. And so the transition K is a more appropriate setting for them. It gives them more of those, you know, pre-kindergarten skills and readiness for kindergarten. So,
Okay. Well, if you could just explain, you know, maybe send out another chart with it.
yes,
Provided
broken
for
down
the
better. I'd be
Preschool and
happy to.
pre-K and let us know which are the half-day programs.
Will
Thank
do.
you.
Okay.
Is TK per half day?
TK is a full day.
Any more questions on the elementary? All right, let's move on to the Groton Middle School.
So really, we tried to stick to, I think one of the first documents we sent out had some of the resource rooms. I see this one, the first 2 are adaptive PE, so those tend to be smaller in nature because they have our special needs students in PE. But the rest of them are really either core or elective classes, and they're by alphabet. And you can see that whether they're a semester course or whether they're a full year course, just designated semester 1, semester 2, S1, S2, or if it's listed 22, 23, then those are full year courses. And our core courses, including music, and, you know, some of the other art, music, band can be full year. But then the other elective, like Project Lead the Way courses, are by semester, and we do have some quarter courses like Approaches to Learning, which really are some of the MYP skill and study skill courses. So there are a couple courses that I see right away, like Advanced Debate with 9 and then Advanced Debate 22. So you know, in the beginning, when we first scheduled for the Groton Middle School, those class sizes were really right around 24, 25. So one of the things I have done with Clint's support is to schedule an expert Power School course scheduler. And we've already met with them. They're a group that you had used when we didn't have Joe Rizzo here. Twin Lakes Consulting, and we actually have hired a woman to work on it as a consultant. And she's already gotten all the data and she's looking at schedules for both the middle school and high school, trying to line them up better. You know, and really to provide several different ways we can look at it so that we fill the classes. So this has been something we've needed to do for a long time. It also comes with bringing in the administration, the counselors, so that they get training. So when we get ready to fill the seats, and they're going to be boots on the ground getting training in Power School and how to schedule. And they're going to be able to look at a couple different models that might work better. And with the objective to really, you know, to have more even balanced classes. Instead of having 9 in one debate class and 22 in another, I'd like to see 20 in each of those school classes if, you know, the great debate is going to happen. And have numbers that are closer aligned to our numbers of, you know, 20 to 22, let's say, or 18 to 22 in a range instead of some of these really smaller classes.
Do you have a sense about when we would get some of that preliminary data?
We're touching base end of this week.
We're going to be meeting with her weekly to see how much progress she's making.
We're hoping to at least get a preliminary before winter break.
And how much of that will be usable by the board? In terms of looking at class sizes and.
Well, I think with the goal of adjusting these numbers so that they more likely turn out 18 to 22 instead of 9 and 22.
Okay.
That's what we're looking for. That's our goal.
Yeah, well, at the same time. We won't have numbers on.
You have to have the kids put in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, we want to lower class size. We want to find that right sweet spot, but we also want to honor as many requests of the students request as possible.
We're also, look, she's doing a historical rendition at both the high school and the middle school the last 3 years before COVID. Was it 3 years before COVID to see what the kids were picking and what they weren't picking, to give us a better idea of what's happened in the past, similar to what the board has been able to look at, you know. And we did see that, and we'll get to that at the high school, that we did increase the number of AP classes and IB. We're not where we need to be yet. And I think between having this consultant on board, working with our administration team and working with our counselors, and, you know, at the same time, we're going to be ready with these different models that she's going to share with us for when the students are ready to submit their requests end of January, to really look at this through the lens with administrators and counselors to see how this looks and make decisions then. And I certainly will be sharing with the board, you know, what it looks like and, you know, what we're seeing. So I really feel very hopeful that this is going to be a way that we can get to better class sizes and, you know, and still, you know, look at those courses that kids still want to take. You know, we even talked about a survey for kids. Like what we did in the middle school when we first designed the schedule, we sent out a survey to families and students. And they were able to, through the survey, let us know what looked interesting to them. And I had put that out as a suggestion that that could also be another tool to help kids have a little preliminary look at what classes are going to be available, and also to give us insight to which ones they're most interested in before we even run a schedule. So that could be an additional piece.
I'm sorry, Susan, we were just talking about the middle school. So
We're just at middle school.
Just at middle school.
I'll wait.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Sorry.
Rita,
Yes, my question is, course 1999 case manager. Could you explain to me what that is?
Where are you?
At
First page.
the middle of the
page.
first
Middle.
page, 1999, course number, case manager. I was just curious. Underneath, calm the chaos.
That's a special education.
It's the same thing as the high school.
Yeah, so that would be your special educators.
Because it just seems odd for that 1 quarter semester it looks like one section with 31 students and then 31 where the ones above it. I'm just curious. I mean, does one case manager have 31 students for?
I can't imagine, but I'll get back the answer. Typically, our case managers across the district have, around 13 to
Right.
15 students. So I'm not sure what that 31 is. And I am surprised it didn't jump out at me. That is kind of confusing.
Okay.
I'll
thank
get back to you on that, Rita.
Nice
Thank-
find, Rita. Beverly?
Susan, how long is a quarter?
So the quarter lasts until 9 weeks, October, and then the next quarter, ends at about the semester time, January, and then we go out till April, I think, and then the end of the year. So it's, the year is quartered up,
Okay.
end of March. I know.
Haven't done it in a while.
Bev, do you have more questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz?
In terms of, I had a similar question to Rita about the 1999. 1117 current events isn't identified by, it's just a number. Is that a social studies? And it goes along with stock market as well as video production. So I'm just kind of wondering where they fit in the scheme of things. Is this something that the curriculum committee needs to look at?
You are on stock market?
Stock market's on the last page, page 3, and video production. They're all identified by number and not by, by department.
That's how they do it in Power School.
Oh,
It's all by
even
number.
like American Sign Language in the.
Absolutely, because we then have to report to the state, the kids who are in the different classes. So it goes by the state identifier.
Okay.
But did you have a question about stock market? Because I think that's a pretty popular course. It
Yeah,
looks like
I
it's still
know, I'm just
24.
I'm just wondering why there are in band, for example, concert band for middle school. There are 3 sections with 102 students, 34 kids each section. Do they ever play together? I mean, because if you have a concert band,
Right.
don't you need to come together to play?
Yeah, they do. They not probably during the school day, they probably do it right before. And I think they're at different levels. I think there's a 6th grade band and then there's a 7th and 8th that plays together. But they've got an 84-minute block every other day. So it really is like an acting corps, and they do like a workshop model where they have, different band instruments playing together. And, so they have some small group practice play, and then they bring them all together within that group.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty common. That's what we had when I was in the middle school level. They did practice mostly separately. And then as the performances got closer,
Okay,
they had
sense.
the rehearsals like
So a good, for instance, was my being at La Grua this morning with the New London Ledyard and Groton Middle School bands being conducted by this Kirk Edwards, who's from the Coast Guard Academy. And Vava, boom, you should have heard the sound. You guys all have to go on Friday. But so they had practiced them separately, and then he brought them all together to play together.
I just was kind of wondering how that would all work. So
We're very good. The middle school bands.
La Grua Center, what time? Send that out for us, please.
What's that?
The listening.
Yeah, I will.
Any other questions?
I just had a question about is in English, the language arts of 506. It's like
Language arts 506.
and I misread it, so I withdraw.
Okay, there's a 6, 7, and 8, and those numbers all look larger. I think the other language arts is probably an intervention class because
Okay.
it's small.
Yeah.
But most of the language arts course are like 18, 19, 20, 21. So they're all within that sweet spot. That's that group.
Any other questions on the Groton Middle School enrollment? All right, hearing none, well, let's move on to Fitch High School.
So there again, we looked at the resource rooms and the one-offs, some of the classes that had special needs students and caseloads. And then we looked at, these are really your core classes, your elective classes. And you can see that, while we have the core areas still can have some room for growth. So the algebras are between 14, 15 and 17, 18 in number. So that's just one of the different mathematics groups. American Sign Language 1 and 2, we're growing the program. So, but that has been pretty consistently very popular, wouldn't you say, Ted?
Very, yes.
You do see some of the electives like at the top, accounting 1, adapted foods, and adolescent literature. We can't consistently run these classes if we're not filling them up. So this work that this consultant is doing, looking back historically, the work that we can do maybe in a survey prior to kids signing up for classes, we can really look at what is going to fill up. What are those courses that kids are going to want? And I think by having a scheduler who can make sure that we prioritize correctly and make sure that if you're in the IB diploma program, that you still could be part of the band, so that you don't want things to conflict with each other either. So that's what a good scheduling person can do, and use the Power School tool to do it with.
I think also we're taking a look at some of our elective classes to see, in some cases, that elective classes that are running full year, whether or not they could run for just a semester, which gives students a better opportunity to take a course without blocking out a complete part of their schedule. So we're looking at those possibilities as well. I think that, I know that this has been kind of a struggle for the last couple of years, but I think we are making progress on this. And I think that you'll see that there are a few of these classes that are combined. Both classes run in a similar block. For example, Guitar 1 and Guitar 2 run together. So the Guitar 2's only got 3 students in it, but it runs in conjunction with Guitar 1. So we try to do that as well, combine classes when we can as well. So if you have any questions about those, I'm happy to. Yes.
All right, so Ted, what I hear you saying is like you're taking a class that has run full year. Are you talking about taking it and making it okay? So like I'm just gonna pull something out of my head, like here, art, like an art class. It's a full year class. Let's make it art 1A and art 1B. Are you gonna, is that what your thought is to still have the same course, but kids can choose either to do the first part, and then do the second part maybe the following year, or they can decide to do it simultaneously?
We're actually looking at possibilities of doing that, where we could split up a course to have a semester 1, a semester 2, that a student could just take one piece of it if they wanted. But also, are there courses that maybe should just be running in a semester? So allow students to take that in one semester and something else the other semester. What the difficulty is with some of the electives that run full year is that the student needs to have that one period free the entire year in order to take that. They can't take anything else. So a lot of times we're finding, talking to students, that they're kind of turned off by that because they're completely stuck taking that course instead of something else later in addition to that.
And
again, splitting up the course both in a semester 1 and semester 2 allows students to maybe just take one part of it, take one part of it this period and another part of it a different period, second semester, or just take it second semester. So it gives more freedom for the schedule as well.
And you can see examples of that right in the schedule. If you look down at the arts, Art 1 is broken out to semester 1 and semester 2.
Yeah.
And then you can see down, I just saw it.
Or
was it
Black literature or
yeah. children's literature down at the bottom, civics and civics. So civics is split up by semesters as well. And those are pretty full classes. So the semester classes have some real good appeal for courses that, you know, would be enriching and courses that would be elective.
If you're changing the credit evaluation, like if you're taking a class and you're not going to offer the full class, you're going from a full credit to a half a credit, would you please, that's an adjustment to the.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. We've already spoken to Phil about it. We would
Okay.
make sure that we were making you well aware of that.
Thank
before
you.
we did anything.
I have concerns about French, like I had concerns about Latin. And where we go with that, you know, French is, you know, it's not filling up, and I have real concerns, and I'm hoping that through this grant with global mindedness that we can, you know, get back our numbers.
I'm gonna recognize William, Beverly, and then Matthew.
So is there a special process that students can, you know, switch over in quarter, you know, in semester 2 to a different class if they're an elective? That's the full year.
Currently, no, they would be in that class for the full year if they signed up for it and did not drop that class during the add drop period. So once you've gone through the first quarter of the class, you would be in that class, or if you decide to drop it at that point, you would have to withdraw on your transcript.
Oof,
Just like any other course.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the process.
that's horrible.
Mhm.
Wow.
Do you have any more questions?
Not if they love the class. It's not.
Hmm?
Not if they love the class.
No, yeah, I mean,
Well, we make sure the students know that there's a process they have to go through in order to
Yeah.
add drop courses and you know, that's pretty well communicated with the students. So, you know, by the time they're getting out of first quarter, they know that, you know, the point that they got it.
I will share that
The
with my
middle
daughter.
school, yeah, the middle school has more semester courses, except for the core courses that run all year. And they've even had quarter courses before. So, and it builds a very cumbersome schedule for a middle schooler. But I think the more semester courses for electives we can get in, the more opportunities kids will find their passions and what they really like to do.
I'm gonna recognize Beverly.
Thank you, Kim.
Absolutely.
Susan, on the IB classes, so say for instance 7185, they have 3 students. Is that one teacher in that classroom with 3 students?
Which one is it?
I'm looking for
Oh,
the number.
71B5, I'm sorry.
IB business management too.
Yeah, IB business. It says
Yeah.
one section.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask Principal Kelleher to answer that one.
So Beverly, this kind of goes back to the discussion that we were having last year. So we knew that the IB, we were really struggling to get students into IB. And that was last year's junior class. So that has continued this year's senior class, where we do not have a lot of students in our IB diploma program this year. However, we are on the upswing with that, so that our IB junior class this year is 4 times larger than this previous year. I like to say it that way because it sounds a lot better. It means that went from 4 to 16. But as I told you when we first came to the board, that this, I believe, is a 3-year process to rebuild the IB program. And to make sure that we have these classes filled. So my hope is that I will be coming to you, and we've already started, Kelly Donovan. And also I'd like to mention Ann Keith Robotnik worked very, very hard to start getting students involved and getting students in both the IB diploma program and both the CP program as well. So that we are at a junior class of 16. So you'll see the junior class have more students in them. Next year, I'm hoping that if we're an even greater number with our incoming junior class, and that those numbers will be higher. So yes, the senior classes, the IB classes number 2 are still low, but that's just because the senior class is a smaller class.
So we have one teacher in that classroom, say for Spanish 12, teaching 2 students.
Unfortunately, this right now we do, yeah.
Now, that's crazy to me. But okay, the next thing is the personal training. you have 4 students in honors personal training. Now, when you see you only have 4 students, you can't just say we're not gonna run that class?
It's kind of midway, 7760.
Page 3,
Hold on, I think I had a note on that one.
page 3.
Yeah, page 3 or 5.
Honors, it's
Honors.
Oh, honest.
honors personal training. There's 4 kids. 7760.
I guess it's quite personalized training.
Yeah, to look under honors, Ted.
Yeah, it's like a third down
On
the page
page
on
3.
page
Yeah.
5.
He's on.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I was on a different page. So the honors personal training is a course that, number one, sometimes we do have students that end up moving into that class second semester. It was also a course that was higher, but some students had moved out of it at this point. So we are hoping that a few more students will go into that class for second semester. So
Do you offer it the first semester?
we did not offer it first semester at this point.
Hmm.
We only
So
have that
you-
second semester.
So when you see, I guess my question is like, when you see there's only 4 students, you don't want to drop that class and utilize that teacher in a better way instead of that teacher only having 4 students? I mean, that's a gravy class. If I was a teacher, I'd be happy to only have 2 students.
Normally, yes, we do. Again, I believe when the scheduling was coming out, there were more students in it at that point. I don't know that for sure. I could check with the actual enrollments from the scheduling. But again, students move a little bit at times, and that's unfortunately where the number is now. But you do see some classes that are running second semester, oftentimes are lower now, but then end up with more students in them as students move classes as being a second semester.
The other one that I noticed is above that is the honors personal finance, and we certainly want kids involved in finance and, you know, and have that understanding of personal finance. So in the first 2 classes, you've got
It must be a better way.
34, 35 kids, and then you only have 6 and 9.
Again, we do have a lot of students that end up taking personal finance first semester, end up moving into personal finance 2 the second semester.
Right.
That's why those were on the second semester. So oftentimes those numbers do go up second semester once kids finish the personal finance 1. They
Right.
decide to go into personal
Do you
finance.
ever ask the kids that are in like personal finance first semester why they don't enroll in the second semester?
Oftentimes the kids that are enrolled in second semester are the ones that had taken personal finance in a previous year. So they took it last year and then they signed up for personal finance 2, but weren't given it into their schedule until the second semester. Again, those classes tend to fill up with kids that took it first semester saying, oh, I really like this course. I want to continue with it with the second semester as well.
Not yet, but I'm interested in the numbers dropping from finance 1 to 2.
Finance 2.
Yeah. Do you ask the students, okay, how come you didn't sign up for finance 2? You took, maybe you don't need finance 2. Maybe the interest isn't there. I mean, we have to really be careful about these low class sizes. Like the nursing assistant has 5 students in it. I'm not saying it's on a good class, but it's only 5 kids there.
Okay, again, going back to that specific class, it's very similar to IB. Last year, we did not have a lot of students that enrolled in the diversified health occupations, which is the prerequisite class for taking the nursing assistance class. So we did not have a high number of students that were able to go into it. This year, we're back to running 3 sections of the diversified health occupations, which is great. So my hope is that, again, as that's the feeder course for the nursing assistants, that the nursing assistant class will be much higher next year based upon the pool of students that we have taking the DHO class.
I'll recognize you after Matthew.
You're muted.
Matthew, you're muted, unfortunately.
Only gracious people would say unfortunately. I want to take my prism and turn it slightly at 3 things. The last one is kind of cute, but the first 2 are serious. We pride ourselves on our teachers being able to differentiate between students' needs. as well we should. And I wonder when we're having classes with 2 or 3 students, whether it is pedagogically sound. I mean, actually, my wife went to a one-room schoolhouse for the first 6 years of education, and you know that probably won't work in Groton. But where we have 2 consecutive classes with 2 or 4 students, can we not have one teacher? Is it pedagogically possible to have one teacher teach 2 at one level and 3 at another level? It's not something that I think we want to discuss tonight, but at least give some consideration to it, and we can come back to it another time.
Yeah, Matt, I think that, I think you've got a good point. I think there are classes that we do that with. For example, our marketing classes, we have a marketing 1 and marketing 2. Those classes are taught together because we currently only have 6 students in marketing 2. It's honors marketing 2, I believe. Guitar is another example that we do that with, where we have students that are combined in those courses. And there's a few others here. I didn't mark them all down, but that we do combine courses when that's possible within the curriculum.
I share Beverly's concern with staff utilization, and I recognize the need to give this variety of classes. Maybe it's something we could take another look at as we move forward. It's not meant as criticism. I'm just wondering if we might have some opportunity to deliver the same quality of education a little bit differently. Let me go to the second one.
We're looking at that, Matthew. We understand. I have the same concerns as the board does, and I've shared that with Principal Kelleher, and he's really looking at it and trying to identify where the problem areas are. And so we might not have as much choice, but I want to do it in a real logical, mathematical, problem-solving way, in that I want to look at history and what history has told us, and maybe surveys about current students and what they're looking for. I also think we need to communicate better to our students. You heard our career pathways coordinators, and really the need to tell kids what courses are available to them with the careers, with the IB, with the AP, and to start sooner than later with our middle schoolers who are going to be 9th graders next year. They should be learning about that now, and our other students as well, so that when they go to sign up for classes, they'll be well educated about it.
Well, I'm delighted to hear that. I thank you very much, Susan. My second piece was on, again, this has to do with being data-driven. I like the idea of students being surveyed. I don't want to say evaluating the teacher, but being surveyed for how they felt about how a given class responded to their needs. Not necessarily how the teacher, but how the given class responded to their needs, how it responded to their expectations. There will be a few people who will use that as an opportunity to express themselves. But I think by and large, our kids in the upper grades of high school are mature enough to understand what our purposes are. Again, that's something I offer for our future discussion and consideration if you think it's worthwhile. Finally, my last thing, I noticed with great disappointment that there was no football, volleyball, tiddlywinks, but we have 2 classes in basketball, and I'm just fascinated with what that means. So if you would indulge me, I don't think this is a serious issue, but indulge me and tell me why we have basketball and no other sports.
Well, I mean, of course, it's run since I've been there. It's something where I think that really came down to, again, student interest. And also, when you're running a course through the entire first semester, a football course might not be able to use the outdoors the entire semester. And playing a full football game in the gymnasium could present some issues. I think that
is it an academic course, or is it a PE?
It's a gym class.
It's a PE class. It's a PE.
Okay. Okay.
And so students are taking the course and learn the fundamentals of basketball and playing basketball and work, talking about teamwork and so on and so forth. So but it really just it's a student interest course, something that they can take as PE credit.
Okay,
And
thank you.
there's weight training too and personal training.
Right.
So those
Did I
are-
miss weight
those are-
training?
So,
You did.
You have a
yes.
weight training course.
Oh,
And
I'm
what
bad.
about unified sports? Don't we have a unified section in PE,
We have
unified PE?
unified PE, we have unified culinary arts and unified business.
So that is students in usually self-contained special education classes who then buddy up and have a peer. And those, every time I've gone into those classes, it really warms my heart that, you know, how the peers are working so closely with each other and, you know, forming team collaboration. And then, of course, there's the after-school programs with unified sports too. So that's a really neat neat courses.
So Matthew, did we answer your questions?
Yeah, my understanding is that this consideration is being given to utilization of faculty in merging small enrollment classes that are related for differential attention. And it's my understanding, no, actually, we didn't go any further, that I raised the question of whether surveying students at the end of a class would be a useful tool for administration.
Okay,
I don't
thank
know where
you.
you want to go with that. That's up to you.
We do it in college all the time.
So I'm gonna recognize Dean and then Rita and Beverly.
Comment on the basketball courses reminds me, I ran for vice president of my 8th grade class.
No.
So let's keep this story short.
My opponent was one Jeff Champion, who promised more basketball. I suggested to the class, think about going to Washington DC. Well, they turned that into, you promised us we're going to Washington DC. They hung that around my neck. We eventually did go to DC, but not through my own efforts. Just an 8th grader. But I remember Jeff Champion promising more basketball, but that's how I beat him. In any event, so I've got, you know, obviously similar concerns that everybody would naturally have with super duper small class sizes. But what you don't see here, what's opaque, is how this number of students, number of classes, average sizes maps onto faculty. But for example, I would not have a problem with really teeny courses if in fact they were part of a larger mosaic where we had the optimal sized faculty, so that, you know, one teacher may be just a French teacher and that's all they do, and that's probably all they do, but not, you know, I don't want to presume anything. And they handle French and that's it, it's a full-time position. But another teacher may teach 5 very different things, which in fact I think we do have happen. So the fact that one class has, you know, seems pretty specialized and has 6 students doesn't mean that that's an FTE. I presume that that's correct. So that if you were to say we're not going to offer that class anymore, you still have the teacher. Now you may even have to find something for that teacher to do for what was that class, and it could be another small class. So I think there's a larger picture of just how all this maps onto our secondary school teachers. I say secondary because I presume that there's still a differential certification. There's a K through 8. Not anymore. When did they?
That was
Whenever
my
they changed
day.
that. But
Yeah.
whatever it is, the
Yeah.
teachers that are capable of teaching whatever course.
Right.
So that we may wind up with specialty little courses with 4, 6, or 5 people or whatever, but that's okay because that is in fact how we're optimally using. I just can't tell from this
Right.
whether that's the case, and I know that that's an ongoing thing that changes every year.
Well, that's why I think it's important to do this deep dive, and we can look at it in different ways with the board, but doing it now early on in the operating budget process. Because if you remember last year, we had 4 FTEs that were, you know, cost avoidance or saved with retirements, because we took the deep dive and we looked at the information and we made some decisions around that. So that's why we do this to see. I certainly want to make sure that we're offering the courses that kids want to take, right? So that those are being filled, you know, and then to take a look if there's any savings around that.
Rita and Beverly, I'm gonna recognize Liz in that she has not talked in this round, and so just to,
Oh, okay, well, I'm just.
I haven't either, but that's okay, Kim.
oh,
Yeah, she hasn't.
oh, sorry,
Let Rita know.
Rita, go ahead.
No, thank you. I had a question to Ted. Have you started doing honors history, social studies? Is Ted still there? He's out of the picture for me.
I can hear you.
Honors history starting in 9th grade. That has been a concern for many years that we don't start our history classes with honors. You do in math and you do in English, but not so much in the social studies and sciences.
Yeah, I think that's something, like, for example, right now, we are offering the honors world history, honors US
Yeah.
history, just kind of going through.
No, I meant starting in 9th grade.
No, I don't believe so, no. So,
No, honors world history is
Yeah,
9th grade.
we have
Is definitely 9th grade.
so we have the seven sections, 124, and then we have the regular world history of 9 sections of 129. That's our 9th grade work.
We also have talked about multi-grading some of these to give kids opportunities. So there might be opportunities either in the core or electives to have multi-age, multi-grades. Like a geometry, you could take it after algebra 1. You can take it after algebra 1 and algebra 2 could come, and then geometry. So it really shouldn't be, we shouldn't prevent a grade level student to take some of these courses, and some don't have to go in order. Algebra 1 has to come before algebra 2, but geometry can come anywhere. So.
Right. I totally agree with you. And I just wanted to point out that there are twice as many IB programs as AP courses. And the AP courses are much more enrolled than the IB courses. And some of the ones that there used to be at Fitch, AP Chemistry, AP Economics, AP World History, they're gone.
No, that we have,
Well,
do we have all the
They're not
courses?
gone, but I think that, again, there's some courses that did not run because of low enrollments. That,
But when you say that, Ted, no, you're running the IB programs with very, very low enrollments. When my children, all 3 of them were at Fitch, you couldn't have a course run if there weren't 10 students in a class. That was the bottom line. And if you wanted to take like AP Economics and there were 9 and not 10, then you did it on your own with a teacher that agreed to work with you. This is like overwhelming to me, and we should see the FTEs along with this, how many FTEs go with some of these courses. And some should definitely be combined. I'm hoping you're combining the IB Math 11, the 12 with, like some of these courses could be combined in one classroom, and that's what we're not seeing whether or not they are. Like IB Math HL 12 has 2, and then IB Math HL 11 has 7. And what is the difference between an HL and an SL?
Standard level and higher level.
Standard level, higher level.
I can.
So I think that there's a few things here that I just want to point out. I think, yes, I understand right now, we don't have enough students to run the AP chemistry course. But I would also like to point out that we were able to raise the number of students in the courses for both AP and IB courses. And I think that also speaks to some of the discussion that's happened in the past that these courses were competing against each other. And that, I think that we can raise the enrollments at both AP and IB. I also, say that I completely agree with the board that we have some low enrollment courses that we are struggling with to make sure that we're getting students in there. I want to say that the enrollments right now is a step forward to where we were last year. We had the same discussion last year. I talked to the board about the fact that this is really a process of getting these enrollments up, that we've had a lot of conversation with Susan about what we're trying to do in terms of moving this forward. But I think that we can get our AP numbers up, we can get our IB numbers up, we can get all of these things up, but I think that this is a process. Again, I think that, Rita, I heard what you said about the the overall FTE enrollments, and Matt Brown was taking a look at that, and we had that conversation with Susan the other day. But the other piece is, you know, again, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would put these numbers up against what we had last year and say that we're making progress. But again, this is not just a one-year thing. This is going to be really a couple-year process of moving this forward and getting this to where it needs to be.
And I would say that to add to that, I have that same sense of urgency, Rita. That's why I've hired a consultant with Power School. And not only will this consultant give us different variations on the theme, but they'll work with our administrators and counselors. So when kids are, you know, enrolling in these courses, we'll have kind of just-in-time decision-making on what's going to actually run for next year and what won't. And we'll be able to get a clearer picture of what's possible here. So I'm feeling that same sense of urgency. I've seen this problem since I got here. And, you know, and I feel like we're trying to do it the best we can that will, you know, work for our students, because it's really all about our students.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention again that I've done many years that the AP US History, our scores are never great in that. A lot of our AP and IB exams, but in AP History, if you notice East Lyme High School, Waterford High School, they break it into 2 years so that you take part of US History your sophomore year, you take another honors course, you know, like in your junior year, you could take the AP, but they break it apart so that it's not all lumped together at one time. And then you go into the AP and you take that exam in May. So I just would love to see a little more thought into how we could raise our scores by giving the students more of a chance academically at some of these courses.
Yeah, a little out of the box thinking, maybe.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rita. Liz.
My question is about FAS, Freshman Academic Seminar 1826. I was there when it first came into policy because we were bringing together middle schoolers from different schools and we were combining them so that they came into high school. This was a class, the main focus was to get everybody on the same playing field. That's not the case anymore. We have one middle school. Do we need FAS anymore? And I think that's something that I personally would like to hear about. What is the purpose of this course anymore? And how could we then better use our staff that are doing these FAS classes? We can put them back into a more academic deal. Is FAS necessary?
Just having this discussion as well.
I've been
So,
asking that question too.
yeah.
Can we compact it with the Global Citizen, which is the getting ready for the project? So we're going to be looking at some curriculum and having those discussions to see if there's a way to compact.
Yeah, and again, we were having this conversation. I do believe that FAS serves a very, very important purpose at the high school.
So has it changed?
What's that? It has. Now, I think that, you know, I think it's worth it, maybe not at this meeting, but just having a discussion with the board about the history of this course, because it has gone through a lot of iterations, even in my time at Fitch. And this includes the FAS and its kind of sister course, Global Citizenship. But the main purpose of FAS running in the first semester for all freshmen is, number one, it's that acclimation to the high school. It's the learning those study skills that students need in order to really succeed in high school. And really starting to develop that relationship with the students and having them find their place at the high school. And probably the most important piece is really to nail down those ATL skills that are so important with the middle years program, and really trying to see how those students are expected to use those, and then at the final, bring it into the global citizenship class and the introduction of the personal project, which we've already talked with the policy committee about the possibility of that becoming our capstone. So I think that it's something where I do believe that's an important piece. I understand that the possibility of combining those courses and making it a semester course might allow freshmen to utilize other opportunities to take other electives. But at the same time, I also believe that having our freshmen taking those courses, getting those skills in a really intentional way is important as well. So I think that, you know, I've talked to Susan about some other opportunities that we have in terms of other courses to give students more choice and giving students more opportunities to take these electives might be the better way to go. I share the board and Susan's goal here. I want more students in these classes. I want to make sure that we're running our classes at double digits, you know, and making sure that we have a healthy course enrollments. I think we've taken steps forward to that. I think we've made improvements to that, and we're going to continue making improvements to that. I don't necessarily see, my personal opinion is I do not necessarily see combining FAS and global citizenship as an effective way of doing that. I believe there is still value in those courses, and I'd like to see some consistency in those courses because there have not been consistent courses since my time here. So I think that I think that is an important piece of those students being successful, especially our lower level students coming into the high school, to having those skills as they go forward.
So maybe, I don't mean to cut you off.
Don't, no,
Maybe-
you didn't,
excuse me,
no.
But I think maybe, Phil, this is something for our January meeting, is that we need to review the curriculum for both the FAS as well as the global citizenship.
Sure.
And that way we can go on from there. So I'm
Listen,
because
honestly, we've had that conversation just earlier this week,
Yeah,
right?
we've been talking about that this
Which
week.
would be, no, not
Monday.
earlier this week.
Today's Monday, so
Today's
that's.
Monday. So it was last week, and I do have those documents. And the only reason it wouldn't be December is because our December meeting is so packed.
Yes,
So, okay,
yes.
so I also want to get us back onto the agenda topic, which is just enrollment, not just
Well, that's-
enrollment. But
Yeah.
But one of the things also we've talked about is that the FAS classes can be bigger. And that would actually lower the number of FAS classes that we're running and allowing the teachers to use other courses as well.
okay, thank you.
That's a good question.
Quick, quick,
Bev has been hanging out.
that's fine.
Bev?
You there?
Yeah, I'll just make mine quick now. I'm just going to align my thoughts with Rita, that it's kind of overwhelming to see some of these class sizes very low. And Susan, can you send me the class sizes for the high school from last year? I want to look at last year's class sizes compared to this year's. Just for the high
We can
school.
do that. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
that's a
But
good
it is
idea,
overwhelming
actually.
that some of these class sizes are low, and what Matthew said, maybe combine some of the classes, maybe like you did guitar 1 and guitar 2 together. Like, that's all. I'm not gonna go on and on.
Okay, thank you.
I also, if I'm gonna, I know you said quick. To Dean's point earlier, which is the overlay between what are your FTEs, what are they teaching? I think is helpful too, because I feel like this is not the complete picture. This is what we asked for, so you gave us exactly what you asked. Unfortunately, you are encouraging us to really be thinking about this. And so I don't know what this means in terms of full-time teachers, because that's going to impact our FTEs are going to impact how we do
So that's
our
kind of the
budget.
natural next step for this
Right.
process, when we're really looking at our staff as the integral piece to our budget process.
Right.
So that is something that I think Matt has pulled out and we're starting to look at, and then I'll send it your way.
Dean.
I don't know if anyone remembers, I see calculus AP, has calculus BC ever been offered here? French?
It does. It is offered at Fitch.
It's offered
We
now.
only had a few students that were looking to take it, so we offered it as an online option for those students.
Because I recall that like literally for the MIT, Stanford headed students, so it's not, usually not populated very well.
No, I think we only had 3 students, if I remember correctly, that were interested in.
I was just curious. Thanks.
Rita.
I was just gonna follow up with Dean. Actually, my daughter took the AB and then the BC in the exams when she was at Fitch. So, and it was a very well-populated class of juniors and seniors. So it has happened in the past, and I think it's extremely important if you're gonna go to, into some of the colleges that would demand that you have those courses. So I think we should try to populate it again. But there
I
were,
think it
many-
all starts with having more kids in honors algebra 1 at the middle school, Rita. That
yeah,
will really allow
that's where
that to
they had
happen.
it. Right.
And to double up with geometry and an algebra 2, that's really quite easy to do for kids who love math.
Right,
So,
and
I
you
think
know,
you're
when
right.
they had, when there was a block scheduling, you were able to do that because you took a whole course from September to January. And then the second, so you were able to like double up on a lot of things. And I had one more quick question about Latin in the IB Latin. Can anyone sign up for that?
IB Latin.
For the IB Latin, I believe that you have to have a prerequisite of, I believe it's Latin 2, but I need to get that.
I thought
I
it
don't-
was ab initio.
What's that?
I thought Latin, you could do it as ab initio.
You can do the online as well, but you have to have at least some.
But ab initio is the first, the level for non, like the beginning.
I have to look at the program studies. I don't know that right off the top of my head. I
Well,
believe you have
I'm
to have
just
some Latin.
still, you know, hoping that Latin is not totally ignored and still taught at Fitch. And I was just thinking that it would be a great way to increase the enrollment in Latin in the IB if it was, you know, open to more students.
Well, that's why, we may even have to do with this grant on global mindedness. I'm contemplating doing another survey for kids just to see what the interest is. But they may need to have a little bit of a taste test of the different languages
I
to
think
go
so.
into that.
Think so.
Encouragement. And we still do have a wonderful teacher who teaches Latin and social studies. So, we do have someone who can, share information with kids.
I had one more quick question, Kim, about the Native American Studies course that will be taught, I believe, next year. The curriculum is going to be ready. The state of Connecticut will that be, what grade will that be taught in? 9th, 10th?
I think, Rita, if my research is correct, it's going to be offered 9 through 12. It's going to be an elective.
An elective. And
But
to
I
be
think
taken-
what they're gonna present it, because 9th grade doesn't have enough space in their schedule, that I think it's mostly gonna be populated with 10th, 11th grade, maybe 12th. But I think they're gonna do it more like they started with the African American Latino studies.
But
So,
it's
but I-
something that is required by the state of Connecticut to
Not
take.
yet,
Not
not
yet.
required, not yet.
Okay.
It's on the, It's on the,
It's on the list.
Yeah, it's on the list, because the first one's gonna be this African American, Black, Puerto Rican, Latin American studies.
Yes.
That's gonna be the first one that's gonna go and it's the way they're gonna do, it's gonna replace. You could take this or a US history class.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
The state's supposed to release that course, Rita, in June of 23.
right.
Yeah.
So,
The
it's
curriculum.
coming, but that's how they're going to allow it to, it's gonna be required, but you can do this or that.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Sorry, Kim.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Any other questions? Hearing none, we're going to move on to our last agenda item, which is the Groton Public Schools Security System Grant. So Susan and Sam
And Clint.
and Clint.
So we did have a meeting with John Burt, and I think I wrote about this in board notes, and the Chief Fasaro and Chief Jennings. Is it Jennings? That's his name? Jenkins. And it was really a very good discussion about this software that was brought to our attention called Mutual Link, which would link up the schools and the police and fire departments. And it would be mapped out so that if there were any indication of an emergency anywhere in any of our buildings, it would contact police and fire, and they would know exactly what it was, where it was, and what to do. John Burt was there, and I did have the discussion that this isn't just a school project. This is a safety for the community. It could also, Mutual Link could also be in the town hall annex or in the town hall building or in the libraries. So this could be bigger than the schools, but the schools, of course, are my priority. And the schools linked to fire and to police are absolutely a necessity. With that, we need better cameras and equipment. We might need some kind of a dongle that would be an emergency or
Upgrades of
something
some of the panic buttons.
on panic buttons. So this is a whole project that we had submitted to ARPA at the tune of about $500,000. We've broken it out to look at it as CIPs, but in the conversation, I have to tell you, and we're doing a follow-up with John Burt because he asked me to do that. I got really a good indication that this is something that they still are interested in. There's been no decision to my knowledge, although I think they are going to meet tomorrow night when I have finance and facilities about some of the different options that are coming to the council around the different grants that were submitted. And so I'm very hopeful that they'll see this as a priority and at least get us started down the path of getting those cameras in and having a way to communicate. The other communication tool we're looking at are some really high-end radios, better than our other walkie-talkies, where at least we could have a couple of these in the main office, at the hub, at central office, that coordinate right with police and fire departments. So if there was an emergency, we could have direct access to them at any given time. So between, cameras and walkie-talkies and cameras in the buildings and outside the buildings to really get, good angles. And CK and Northeast could use upgrades as well. So we're looking at all of our schools and CB. So,
So what's the purpose of us talking about this tonight? What are you hoping for the board to hear?
that this hasn't gone away, this request,
Okay,
and that we're looking at other ways to connect with the town bodies. And I always wanted this to be a community endeavor. And I think I made that point at our meeting that this is, but the schools are definitely a priority when it comes to school safety. They even talked a little bit about SROs. Is there a need at the elementary level for security guards and SROs? So that's something that we're still contemplating. So it may be something that we want to discuss further on.
probably what would be helpful is for also, money and safety is two separate things, but it would be important for us to know if we were to add 5 SROs, what would that look like for our budget?
Right.
Go ahead.
So my question is with the new cameras, so some school districts and towns, they do, it's the partnership in regards to that is really, really tight. And the cameras and everything are a townwide thing versus the middle school has these particular cameras and this, some towns, their visibility of what's going on in the schools is centralized with the police and security, such that they have immediate access to the cameras. If there's something going on at whatever school, they're able to visualize what's going on.
And that's what this mutual link would do.
Okay.
I had that in Monroe. And, there's ways that they can be even supervising buildings while we aren't in school, because we're not here, So it has a lot of benefits either way.
Can I comment on that?
Yes.
Just very, very quickly. So we're kind of 3 tiers. So part of this funds additional cameras internally and externally, especially filling in holes in some of our older schools. That's kind of tier 1, get the hardware placed, new panic buttons, additional panic buttons like. Tier 2, what we were going after was exactly that. We don't have a way in Groton Public Schools now to put in front of Sam or in front of Susan every camera across the district. So that was really tier 2. How do we pull this all together into one so that they would have ready access at all times, the building principals, et cetera, but then also an account to the police department. So that they're not asking to be granted access, God forbid, there's an active shooting event in one of our schools. The tier 3 with the mutual link system, which came in, which really ties this from a school to a community event is, that's great that we have 100 cameras at Fitch. And if we have a problem, we can call the police and they will be there in a minute, cross the street, eyes on those cameras immediately. But now all of a sudden you have well-intentioned officers trying to solve a problem and they've got 100 cameras in front of them. Now what do I do? The mutual link system, what it does is based on where that call happens or where a panic button is pushed, it immediately opens a voice channel between all parties cell phones, radios, text, and so forth, which instantly goes on. Plus, it bases on the geolocation of where the event was triggered, panic button, phone call, what have you. It shows them those, it lays those 4 cameras up on your screen immediately. So we're trying to enhance base level, getting the right hardware. Second tier is pulling all those cameras together. And then third tier is really making it actionable for first responders to go in and have immediate information to get the problem solved. And those 3 build on each other. And that's what this ultimate proposal demonstrates, from a kind of a collective effort across the town, not just Board of Education, also PD, also the town side and so forth.
And so.
Sorry, that was a lot for your question.
No,
but
that's okay. And so this is, we're paying for this based on the school budget, the cameras and everything.
We have not done that yet. I mean, we've had new building projects, we've got new cameras in the new schools. We're faced with needing resources in the older buildings. And, you know, in that 3-tier structure. So that's why we went for the ARPA funds in the town. And now we've said it can be beyond the school, you know, into the, you know, other community access points like the, you know, town halls and the libraries and other facilities too.
Yeah.
And so we originally didn't make the top 10, which was one of the reasons why then there was a meeting that kind of came together. And what I think Susan and I heard, I was on Zoom, is that it's not off the table in terms of having the town really kind of push to make sure that this goes through a grant because of the importance, the high importance of it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, because this is something that like every voting member of the town would want, is security and safety of their children.
Yeah.
And give us back this, you know, the field stuff so we could do the fields ourselves.
Matthew, did you have your hand up? You're muted.
I know. This is related. At the last meeting, if my memory doesn't leave me, William reported back on a lecture or a CABE lecture that he listened to about the utility of having the board engaged and know about the security plan. Have you guys had a chance to think about the use of that?
So guess what? I was able to bring, that was my one question, was I said that we had a board meeting and that was brought up that the board would really like to go into executive session and to hear from the police and the fire about what is the safety plan. We're not gonna know the actuals down and dirty, but to kind of hear what some of the plan is, not some of the plan, but to hear what the plan and plan of action. And so we are going through our budget time. And so I'm suggesting a very early March, if we get done with our budget early, February time frame where we can have a special time where we can, not special, but like a time for executive session with those people. So it's already on, it's not on the calendar yet, but it's an agenda item.
Thank you very much.
And we another piece of this project that we paid for is these flip charts that align with our state plans that go to the State Department of something or other. I don't know which state department you bring it to, but we have to sign off on it, everyone. And so those flip charts are going to be easy access for everybody to use. They're going to go, we'll use them for professional development around, you know, our different procedures, whether it's a fire drill or a lockdown, the building secure. And it really was the great work of Adam Diskin and Sam and a lot of, you know, elementary and middle school administrators, high school administrators that worked on this. So that's something I can share, just how it looks and that kind of thing. You might not know the details behind all the planning, but I can at least give you a briefing on, you know, how these plans get written and, you know, kind of we can march through that.
Any other questions?
Can I just say, thank you, Susan, and everyone else that has been working on the school safety project. Because this is not only good for our students while they're in school, but even after school, when we have after-school activities
Right.
and people are in our school buildings. So thank you very much, and I hope we get more money to do all this stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
and any building we go to pay our bills. It's nice to have that security among us, you know, in our town, so. I'll keep you posted,
Okay, it gives us peace of mind.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to actually hearing what the plans are. And not, I mean, I don't know, it feels like that's an important information and, for us to have.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, is there any more conversations about the safety? If not, I have a motion on the floor for adjournment. Can I have a second?
Second.
William has seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.